All right, here we go to Friday, late night happy hour. Cofield, joined by the living legend of Las Vegas. It's a good thing to be a living legend, right, Dave?
Yeah, I think dead legend doesn't sound real good.
There's Dave. He's in his coffin. He's going to look at the coffin.
Josh, live from the crypt.
Josh, you really got to carry the show. Dave's dead. Josh Kopelman's with us. Josh is one of our buddies who's in – Josh, you're in Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, Oklahoma City.
Yep. So we're going to get into some Oklahoma topics, and Josh is a big bettor. He's a poker player, and I want to get the perspective of Josh on some Oklahoma issues too with our buddy Mike Gundy, who we've talked about a lot the last couple of weeks. But I wanted to ask you guys. Let's start with Josh because Dave, I'll ask you in a second. Vegas has been pretty crazy with the illegal fireworks the last month or so, and obviously tonight on the eve of 4th of July, people are going crazy. So what's it like there? Because
it's insane. I don't think there's ever been a year with more fireworks than this year. I don't know what's happening. And it started 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Do you this is going to sound ignorant, but a lot of our fireworks here, first of all, I don't know what the rules are for fireworks there, but a lot of our fireworks here, like the big boomers, the most impressive stuff are actually from places like Mawapa and Paiute. The tribes can sell stuff that, a lot of the other places can't sell. So in Oklahoma, is that the case, or is just everything legal?
I'm not exactly 100%. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think the big ones are illegal. I know you can't shoot them off in city limits. Because I remember when we were in college, we'd have to go out to the country area kind of, and that's where we used to shoot them off. But out here in Oklahoma, I'm pretty sure most of I know they're illegal in city limits, but I'm pretty sure the big ones are illegal.
Dave, what's it like down by you? Is it going crazy?
No, nope, it's been, for whatever reason, my neighborhood has been really quiet. I don't know. There's a hospital nearby. Maybe people are showing some. I have no idea. It's usually noisier. It's been quieter. It's been the quietest I can recall this year. My neighbor's dog is even quiet, which the dog is usually going absolutely berserk when there's thunder or anything noise related that he doesn't understand. And I'm not even hearing the dog. So it's just plain old July 3rd over here.
That's crazy. It's actually the 4th now over here where I'm at, and started hearing fireworks about 11:50. They kind of stopped now, but it's been going late night too. It's not like these fireworks are happening right after sunset, 9:30. It's 11:30, midnight every night, and I don't know where it's coming from. I don't know if people just locked down, they're bored, they got to blow stuff up, or what.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. Maybe it's some sort of man, there's deep ones hey, it's politically motivated. Hey, we're gonna flood the country with fireworks because people are stupid and it'll take their minds off of real issues. So just give them a bunch of things to blow up, and they're like, we're happy. We won't protest, we won't topple statues, we won't go out there with racist signs, stuff like that. It's who knows? There's always some deep state. Right wing, left wing,
there's some really weird people in this country. That's the beauty of social media. Because I never realized how many really crazy people there are in this country. We got a lot of nuts here.
Oh yeah, you can usually tell by their avatar and their profile picture. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but if they have a dog avatar or something. No offense to anyone that does, they tend to be a little crazier, say the weirder stuff than someone who has their picture in their profile. At least I've noticed that.
Well, I don't know if they look like I've thought about putting my cat in the profile because it looks better than I do. It's got nothing to do with weird. Geez, look at me. A freaking patch over one eye. I got to wear glasses because the light bothers me. The beard, the hell with coloring it. I gave up that a few years ago. No, I actually am seriously considering putting up the cat. But he's kind of old too, so maybe I should put up a hot picture of a blazing redhead or something like that.
Well, we're gonna get to your redhead theory later on.
More followers. I don't know if you need more followers. You get a lot more.
Oh yeah. We'll get to your redhead theory a little later on. Dave, I think you with an American flag shirt and an American flag bandana, just with the eye patch, would change your whole profile. People judge just off the profile, and they're like, well, fuck this guy. He's right wing wacko, left wing, libtard. You got to play it up, man.
It's not a bad. I was going to say it's not a bad idea, and change it on every other day.
Mm-hmm.
So do a MAGA cap one day, and then the next day, a picture of me with my with Joe Biden superimposed wearing a Kangol cap or something like that. There you go. Yeah, I like it. Just confuse the hell out of people.
It's one of my props, Josh. I will tell you, I did a show about 6 months ago. I was hanging out at the Golden Nugget. We do shows at the Golden Nugget downtown, and I wore this hat, and it was like such a weird feeling because the crowd walking by, we have like hundreds and hundreds of people walk by over 3 hours. The crowd that walked by, you either got like people walking up giving you fist bumps, or I will tell you, like the people of color who walked by, the looks I was getting, I was like, oh shit. Like I felt so uncomfortable. We have a guy, Angel, who runs the show, and he's like, dude, you're like the position you're putting me in. I think
yeah,
it was not good. It was not good. It was quite the prop. But I do want to.
I started out in promotions, so I know exactly what you guys going through, especially when you have someone crazy talking on the air. Those people come up to you, start screaming at you. Like,
you know who the best guy on Twitter on it? I don't know if you follow him. He's got almost 200,000 followers now. I started following him when he had like 5,000. It's at 3 Year Letterman. Have you guys followed him? He's a lawyer. The Athletic did a feature. The Athletic did a feature story on him a couple months ago. He's a lawyer. He doesn't live anywhere near Georgia, but he started this parody Twitter thing, and it doesn't matter what the topic is. He alternately people fall for it all the time, and depending on what he's tweeting, he'll get rants directed at him because he's a Trump fan, or the next day he's a libtard. I mean, the tweets are frequently the same, but the reactions to them are absolutely hilarious. And then the followers start ganging up on whoever tweeted at him. It's just, I follow it every day. It's my that and The Onion are musts for me on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, I just pulled up 3 Year Letterman. He's talking about, amen, the Franklin deniers don't have an answer to this one. I don't even know.
He started a thing a while ago that Ben Franklin is the greatest president in the history of the United States. And
so awesome.
It's really taken off.
Every time he tweets it, people are like, "You're an idiot. He was never the president." He keeps fucking doing it. You're like, moron. It's a parody account. He keeps getting you. Stop.
I think the best he got was Scott Baio, who ended up blocking him. Scott Baio got absolutely furious at him about something and could never figure out that it was a parody, and ended up blocking him. So we give out these Scott Baio awards on occasion now for somebody who's really stupid. It's like there's a Scott Baio Hall of Famer.
There you go. Yeah, someone who doesn't get the joke.
Yep.
I would think that 3 Year Letterman has tweeted about and will play up the bit with the Redskins name change. That seems like right up his alley.
Yes.
To really sucker people. So I'll ask Josh first. What do you think of this, Josh? There's a couple things. A lot of businesses have stepped up. Now they're forcing Snyder's hand, including the naming rights on the stadium and FedEx. The Fed stepped up and said, hey, you want to get this land for your new stadium? You got to change the name. Are you comfortable with this? There's all this different cancel culture. This is clearly an attempt to cancel the Redskins name. Are you cool with this?
I mean, the Redskins, here's the thing with the Redskins. Here's what matters. Like, how do the Native Americans feel about this? Because it is a derogatory slur towards Native Americans. So it's like, hey, and I know not every Native American person feels the same way about it, but if they feel like it should be changed, then it should be changed. I think it's past time for the Redskins to change their names. I mean, they definitely should.
Dave?
Well, first of all, there seems to be a split in the Native American camp as to whether it should be changed, because some people don't like it, and some other Native Americans think it's, no big deal. I can't speak for anybody who's Native American because I'm not Native American. I don't know. I mean, I guess for me, my assessment level is based on what the connotation is and how it's viewed. I don't know. I honestly don't know of anybody who, when they hear the nickname Redskins, associates it with anything other than the name of a football team. So, but again, I'm not the judge of it because I'm not Native American. So because it doesn't particularly offend me because I know it's not connected to anything, doesn't mean it doesn't offend some other people. It's really tough. I mean, to me, it's not like, and I've been big on this, it's not like putting up a statue to honor someone who was a traitor to the country. That, I think, is, I mean, I'm sorry, or naming a military base after an idiot like General Bragg, who wasn't even a good general in the Confederate Army. He was an asshole. His old men hated him, and he was incompetent. So why there's a Fort Bragg, I don't know. But I don't know. On Redskins, I'd be lying if I sat here and pretended to be offended by it. That's the thing. I really, this does bother me. I hate being serious on a show like this, but I can't stand it when people say they're offended by something that clearly doesn't offend them. And it's happening all the time. This is a constant now. You're not really offended on it by it. You're pretending to be offended on it, and that's worse.
Dave, you don't associate this with old cowboy movies you watched and the terminology in some of those movies? You never heard the term before? Calling Indians Redskins? Yeah. But those movies are forever ago. I don't know. I mean, we're going to have to cancel everything. I mean, what are we going to do? Throw out all the movies that were made before 1950? Because there's references that are going to be offensive in basically every one of them. Not intentionally so, but it certainly plays out that way.
That's the way the world was back then. You know,
yes,
you grew up like in Oklahoma City. If you grew up in the 50s, I mean, that's the way it was here.
It's the way it still is in a lot of places. You think you're going to change people's minds on anything? Listen, the racists are not going to change their minds. They're still going to be racists, whether the team's called the Redskins or not.
Well, how about they tone it down and not pass it on to the next generations? Maybe they can learn.
I mean,
get a little more perspective.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not offended if they change the name either. If that's the right thing to do, okay.
I think you said it well. It's not that, it can't offend someone like me. I mean, I'm not Native American, but it's about how does it make them feel?
How does it make them feel? Yeah.
I think that's the great point. And that's the main thing behind whether or not the name.
We don't know that because again, I've seen various opinions from Native Americans on this.
Right.
And does it also mean the Atlanta Braves have to change their name? Do the Cleveland Indians have to change their name? I would think so.
Yeah, Indians are already looking at it.
Yeah.
They've said they came out today, they're looking at changing their names too. I think some of it too, I know Florida State has a deal with the Seminole tribe of Florida. So they're not going to ever have to change their name. But, the Braves could stop like the tomahawk chop if that's offensive to people. Stuff like that is kind of.
But they're not really chopped. It's a thing where they're doing with their hands. It's not.
I mean, can't really control how it makes someone feel.
I know.
I
know, and that's something that we're trying to do now. We're trying to make people. It's like there are things to feel guilty about, but you can't make people feel guilty about everything because you start to lose. Because the really important stuff starts to lose its impact when you do that.
I mean, I see what you're saying. I get your point for sure.
I mean, there's some stuff that really is impactful and bad that has to change. I don't want that stuff to get washed under the rug in this ocean of changes that need to take place because somebody's offended. And that doesn't sound like that's not my usual liberal stance, but to me, it's not being liberal or conservative. I mean, it's just. I think we're just going a little bit overboard on some stuff. Just use common sense. Aunt Jemima needed to be changed. Okay, should have been changed 50 years ago.
Hold on a second.
It's insulting.
I thought she was the American dream.
No, that's bullshit. She was a servant her entire life.
Of course, she was. That was a speech given by one of the Trump youth at the church in Arizona, where Aunt Jemima lived the American dream.
Yeah,
man. She wasn't a slave anymore. She was a paid servant,
right?
Which is sort
huge
of
difference. I'm sure she was being highly paid. I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah, right.
The other part of this that's interesting, and do you roll this in? the team Boston Redskins, or check that, Boston Braves, then changed to Boston Redskins, then went to Washington. It was George Marshall who changed it from Braves to Redskins. Well, the problem with George Marshall is that he was a gigantic fucking racist.
He was. Like, here's how bad he was.
Yeah.
He actually passed on. I mean, it turned out, why good things happen to bad people, you don't know. Ernie Davis was clearly the best player available in his draft year. Great running back out of Syracuse. They made a movie about him, Heisman Trophy winner. And he traded the pick to the Cleveland Browns because there was no way he was drafting a black guy with the first overall pick.
Yep.
As simple as that.
He was the last owner to integrate. Eventually, they brought in Bobby Mitchell. Bobby Mitchell told the story about a million times about going to D.C. and, one of the first gatherings they had, George Marshall sitting there with all these people who, all of his friends and advertisers and all that, and they start playing Dixie, and Bobby Mitchell's like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Oh yeah, listen, my team's the Red Sox. I right there among the most racist organizations in the history of sports. Had a chance to sign Willie Mays and two other really good players, and Tom Yorkie wouldn't do it for one simple reason. So that was the real curse of the Red Sox. It wasn't the curse of the Bambino. They don't won a few championships with Willie Mays patrolling center field. Can you imagine Ted Williams and Willie Mays in the same outfield? My God. So Tom Yorkie, because of his racism, cost the Red Sox, cost the team he owned and its fans multiple championships, and continues to be honored to this day. Yorkie Way probably needs to go. I know the family's done a lot of great things, but he sure didn't.
By the way, also fitting that this is now happening to Dan Snyder, who could have got out in front of this and didn't. And, he's part of the motivation. Marshall's part of the motivation, and so is Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder's a puke, so now people are getting on him, and he's going to hold out for as long as possible. What do you think? Do they need to go completely away from the Native American theme, or could they be the Warriors, or just come up with something different?
I think Warriors could work. I mean, I don't really know. It depends how you phrase it. If it's like, there's the Golden State Warriors in San Francisco. So
what if it's the Warriors and the same exact logo? That's probably not going to work.
Same exact logo. No. If they do that spear logo that they had before, it might work. I don't really know exactly how people are going to feel about that, but I think Washington Warriors could work. But if you're going to change your name, why wouldn't you just go a completely different direction?
Yeah, I think Washington Monuments with a giant phallic symbol.
By the way,
it'll be something associated with the city, no doubt. They won't go with Senators because that's too political now. I don't think that you want Washington Generals because it doesn't have a connotation of winning. But the monuments or some silly name like that.
You cannot be the Washington Generals.
No, well, they don't exist anymore. So
they're out.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Globetrotters don't exist anymore. So.
Oh, really? I didn't know the Globetrotters went away.
I think they did a couple of years ago. I think. I could be wrong on that.
I don't know. But I do think we can say this with certainty. Dan Snyder's one of the worst owners in sports.
Oh, he might be the worst. But it's all money with him. This is the guy who, remember, he wanted to charge $10 to watch practice. This is around 2000. He actually wanted to charge people to go watch practice and just got crushed on that. And he didn't get. So if he can monetize this, which he will, he's I'm sure he'll bitch about it. But then I realized he can make a fortune in all the new paraphernalia and merchandising, and he'll go along with it and say that it's for all the right reasons. But it's all about money.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely about money. It's absolutely going to be a money grab. Teams like to change their logos every few years or whatever. Washington hadn't done that in a while. And once he sees that, I think that's – and the reason why he's doing this too, weren't sponsors dropping out?
Yeah,
FedEx said they wanted him to change their name.
He lost FedEx. Nike is involved, and I think I'm not positive. I can't remember which company it is, but they sell NFL merchandise, and they won't sell anything with the Redskins logo on it now.
Nike.
Oh, it is Nike. Okay,
I think it is Nike did that. Yeah.
Nike took down all the Redskins stuff, all of it. So he's cooked. Now, here's the issue, though. It is going to be a money grab. It's a money-making opportunity. He could nail it, but I have zero confidence that he's going to pick the correct name. So, none. Zero. Right?
You're probably right.
No way.
Yep.
No way.
Is he worse than James Dolan? I think Dolan's worse.
I do, too.
Chops, and then they had Charles Oakley dragged out by security guards. Like, dude, what are you doing?
Charles Oakley. Not only that, Dolan's way worse at, like, even the sports side of things. The Knicks have been so horrible for years. He let Isaiah Thomas run the team for what? What was it, like 5-6 years?
Yep.
That went well.
Buried him for the next 10 years on the salary cap, and then Isaiah also got him in trouble because of multiple sexual harassment charges. So it's a freaking total mess. Let me Cokin, one last thing. I saw you tweeting about did you want them just to be named the Washington Redheads?
Well, I want to keep the red in there, so I thought redheads and put a hot redhead on the helmet.
Are you a
and
ginger
she is hot. I like all women if they're good looking.
There you go.
Redheads, blondes, brunettes. I don't care about that. They can change their hair color 7 times a week. As long as what's under the hair looks real good, I'm cool with that. I don't know. You can put green hair on for all I care.
Jack of all trades, Dave Cokin.
I've seen some chicks with purple hair that's like, damn, she's hot.
He'll smash anyone. Yes, Dave Cokin is a Las Vegas treasure. And at this age, Dave, like I said, you'll smash anyone. Let's do it.
Well, it might take a while. What I used to be able to do all night, it now takes me all night to do. So,
I love the Cokin one-liners. John Carvelli chiming in. Redheads are the best. Are they, John? Is that right? Okay. All right. I do know people who are ginger fans, like really intense ginger fans. So I won't out.
I'm with Dave on that. I don't have a preference for hair color.
I'm with Dave on that.
I've never, see, this is
right.
And I'm not kidding. I mean, hair color, ethnicity, I couldn't care less when it comes to women. If they're hot, they're hot. It doesn't matter where they come from, what religion they practice or I don't care about any of that. It's like, damn, she's good looking. The last thing I'm thinking about is, I wonder where she's from or what her ethnicity is. Who gives a shit? This is one thing where guys are pretty universal, aren't we? When you really tear it down, it's like the best line was Lenny Bruce. I have to give credit for this where it's due. Lenny Bruce was talking about race. This was back in the late 50s or early 60s. And he talked about the fact that even the most racist white guy would jump over 50 Kate Smiths to get next to one Lena Horne. And he was right. Because Kate Smith, she's the one who's saying God bless America. She weighed like 300 pounds when she was thin. Okay? Lena Horne, if you look at Lena Horne was gorgeous. Okay?
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous. And it was a great line by Lenny Bruce, and it was true, too.
I will say I don't know any of those people. I'm sorry.
Well, look them up.
I trust what you're saying.
Just, okay, Lena Horne, think, I don't know, let's see. Think Halle Berry. Okay, you know what? Okay, Lena Horne would be in that category if you're looking, talking about a black woman. Kate Smith, just think of anybody who's really enormous.
Okay.
Roseanne Barr, who can sing.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, that's really good.
She was not a pretty picture. Yes.
Oof.
No, it wasn't good. That's great. I love that. I do love the line in The Sopranos when Carmelo's all mad at Tony because he keeps cheating on her. And Tony's trying to make excuses. And finally, his wife is like, cut it out. She's like, you would fuck a catcher's mitt. I love that. I'm like, yeah, that is a lot of guys. That is a lot of guys. Fat women at the end of the night have a pretty good shot at getting smashed. Fat guys, not so much. Guys at the end of the night are like, okay, time to stick it in. Who's around? Let's go. All right, enough of the piggish talk, guys. Cut it out.
It's disgusting.
I want to get to a couple.
I'm offended.
I know, right? I want to get to a couple of Oklahoma angles here with the Latvian missile. Josh is with us, but did you guys see the news that out of that Trump rally in Tulsa, that Herman Cain actually got coronavirus because he did not wear a mask and he did not socially distance? Did you see this, Dave?
I saw that. And he was one of the people talking about how it's not a big deal. He's bragging about how masks aren't required there, which is, Tulsa's just an hour and a half away from Oklahoma City, where I'm at right now. And it's mind-boggling, you know? I mean, you guys are going through for the biggest problems with coronavirus, not just the virus, but also the economy. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's been pretty bad for you guys too.
Yes, it has.
And doing stuff like this not only spreads the message that, oh, hey, don't worry about masks, but it also does it all around the country. And it's just, I mean, it drives me crazy.
Well, on top of that, he's Herman Cain is 75 years old. I mean, dude.
Wow, I didn't realize he was that old.
And now he's in the hospital. And now they're asking for prayers. So,
yeah.
All right, Herman.
I mean, it's sad. It's a sad deal. It's a sad deal. It's easily preventable. There's not much reason to even have a bunch of people in a small room. Like, that's the number one source of the spread.
Yeah, it seems to be in confined spaces. That's what I think we're starting to learn that, because there really, as much of an outcry as there was about people gathering at the beach when Florida opened up, there wasn't a spike from that. It does appear, however, that places, and again, I'm not an expert on this, I'm just going by what appears to be the data, and places where people have gathered and it's enclosed places rather than outdoors, that seems to be where we're getting spikes. So we really didn't get spikes out of the beaches, and it appears we didn't get spikes out of the protests because they were outdoors. Indoors, another story. And the places where the bars and clubs opened up, they've had some problems. The one spike they had in Korea, and I only know this because I watch Korean baseball all the time, the one real spike they had was when they opened the clubs. So they quickly made an adjustment there, and it's back down. A bad day for them now is 50 cases in the entire country.
Hey, real quick on that Korea baseball stuff. What do you think about the broadcasts on ESPN? You've been watching it real quick, because I have a little something on there that's been bugging me. I just kind of want to get your opinion on it, Dave.
It's more about the conversation than the baseball.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. It makes me. Go ahead.
The baseball's pretty bad.
It is kind of bad. It makes me feel like every time I tune in, it just makes me feel like I'm not there to watch baseball. It's like I'm there to watch like an interview.
I think if
I haven't been able to watch more than like 4 innings of the Korean baseball.
See, I enjoy the whole thing because I've enjoyed the interviews for the most part. There's only been one that I really didn't like because they got too serious with whoever the guest was. It's like, I don't want to see this. I want to be entertained. So the baseball on half the screen, the conversation on half the screen, been working for me. I'm kind of enjoying it. I don't think you're going to get a hardcore baseball only audience at 2:30 in the morning to watch, below AA level baseball, which is kind of what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a little different than most people in the interviews. I think I'm definitely in the minority on that. But yeah, it's kind of tough there. Sorry, I got kind of sidetracked there.
It's fine. We're gonna get to baseball eventually anyway. So I wanted to ask you a couple of Oklahoma questions. First of all, what do people in the state think of Mike Gundy, the Oklahoma State coach, who has got black mark, on top of black mark against him? I think he's a horse's ass. I'm fine calling him a racist. I think he's got a track record, and I would never send a kid to go play for Mike Gundy.
I mean, they love him here. Oklahoma State fans defend him like crazy. I think the overall sentiment is that people like him. I think even OU fans kind of do. I mean, the stuff that he's been doing lately has just been awful. And I'll say this, he does not get along with a lot. There's a lot of people he doesn't get along with. So, I mean, the overall opinion, though, Oklahoma State fans, they love him. He's the best coach in Oklahoma State history. Let's start off by saying that, because Oklahoma State, let's face it, they're not a great football program. They've never really been. They had a stretch in the 80s where they were good, and Les Miles was there. I think Les Miles' best record there might have been 8-4 or something like that. And then you get Mike Gundy, and he's become the best coach in school history. By the way, I saw that comment that said, "I'm a man, I'm 40." I'm not going to point anything out, but that was a female reporter that wrote that story. And the only other time Gundy's really gone off on the media, I mean, he does call people idiots and stuff like that, even men. But the only other time he's really gone off, it wasn't like I'm a man, I'm 40. It's when another female reporter wrote a different story. She contacted, it was a recruit's family or something like that. And Gundy didn't think that was fair, which it was like basic reporting. I can't remember exactly what happened there. But that's the only time he's done that. Just kind of pointing that out. I don't think he's necessarily like on purpose doing this stuff, like consciously thinking about it, but it is kind of a subconscious thing.
Dave, what do you think of
it? Okay, coach, as far as, keeping his team competitive, never wins the big games. I mean, I think he's 2-13 against the Sooners. And granted, Oklahoma's obviously the more storied program. But I think he's a decent football coach. As far as a human being goes, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a rule that I try not to pass judgment on people that I've never met. I can form an opinion, but I don't know. I don't want to say, he's an asshole, because he might do a lot of good things that I don't know about. Because he's on the wrong side of one thing, which he clearly was, and he at least apologized for it to some extent. I can't paint a broad brush over him because I want to know about other stuff that he does and I don't know about it. So I'm not going to completely crush the guy. I don't think I would. If I had a kid, though, I don't think I'd be sending him to Oklahoma State.
No, I definitely.
I was going to say a story came out in Yahoo about a week ago, and it indicated he really doesn't know many of his players. He actually doesn't really develop much of a personal relationship with his players. And that was one of the beefs that Chuba Hubbard brought up, is that he's a really distant guy. And for the black players in the program, they feel like they're not really treated with a whole lot of respect. Their voices aren't heard. That was driven by the OAN t-shirt, the One America News Network t-shirt. And then, of course, after that, then the story comes out from Alfred Williams, who played at Colorado with our buddy Mike Pritchard, where he said Gundy's on the field as a quarterback with the Cowboys, and he's dropping N-bombs all over the field. And that was as recent as 1989. So I don't know, man. And the summer before the summer, Gundy threw out the line like, "Let's go, come on, let's get back into camp. We got to start running money through the state, through the program. These kids are 19, 21, 22 years old. They'll get over it. Basically, like coronavirus. Who cares? No big deal."
Yeah, that's kind of a big thing with Gundy. I mean, that's what he just basically said. Whatever, man. If these college kids get sick, it's gonna be fine. Hey, you know what no one's talking about? Guys like Rudy Gobert got coronavirus in March, right? It was right here in Oklahoma, by the way.
Yep.
He still says he can't. He doesn't have a sense of taste, right? So some of these athletes, I think, even the ones that are in great shape, I think there's going to be effects from the coronavirus.
Oh, listen, we don't know shit about this disease yet, and we're talking about the world. This is what cracks me up. Everybody's an expert on this disease, and the leading medical authorities around the world don't know that much about it yet. We don't know what the long-term ramifications are. You might be 18 and might be asymptomatic outwardly, where it's not like you even had a cold, but we don't know if there was any damage done to your lungs long-term. We don't know that. We might not know that for 40 years. Okay? Yeah. So these people who are speaking, and it's just outrageous. Some forklift operator thinks he's a fucking authority on the coronavirus. Shut up. Okay? It's just, we're the worst in this country. I think we've handled it worse than any country on the entire planet in terms of our stubbornness and our unwillingness to believe that somebody might know more than we do about it. It's incredible. Yeah. By the way, I see Trump Jr.'s girlfriend got the virus too.
Yeah, she was at the Tulsa rally. She was there. I know there's one former reporter that wasn't there. He wasn't at the coronavirus rally that got it in Oklahoma. There was one reporter, I don't know if she was there or not, that got coronavirus as well. But there's been coming out that there's some reporters that are getting this coronavirus too. So I don't know how widespread it was at this thing, but Dave, I think you said it best. We don't know what's going to happen.
No.
It could be there's no long-term effects. But
I read just because I'm interested in it. I do leaf through the New England Journal of Medicine. I don't understand half the stuff they're talking about because, I'm not a doctor. And I also read the report last week in The Lancet. And those are the two leading medical publications on the planet. And they're not politically driven. Okay? The one thing they both said, especially The Lancet did a pretty exhaustive study. The masks don't cut down. Nothing is perfect. There's no 100%. But wearing the mask properly cuts your probability of getting it, the infection rate from something like 17% down to 3%. That's the end of the debate, okay? There is no more debate on it. The masks work. So next time anybody sees someone talking about, well, they don't do this and they don't do that, they're fucking wrong, okay? This is no longer, it's kind of like if I want to have the opinion that Nebraska is the most beautiful state in the country, that's an opinion, okay? And you can debate that with anybody. If I want to say that Nebraska is the most beautiful country on the East Coast, that's no longer an opinion. That's just going against fact. And that's the way it is with the masks. There are no more opinions. They work.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you. I've been wearing a mask every time I go inside since March. Anytime I go to the grocery store, I should say. And I've been pretty much avoiding crowded public spaces as much as possible.
I don't like wearing it, but I keep my mask in the car. It's a Golden Knights mask, so it really looks good. And whenever I go into any place, I put the mask on, even though I don't like it. I'm not so much of a pussy that I can't wear the mask. It hurts my breathing. Okay. Yeah. I get it if you actually do have a panic attack. I guess there's some people, and I don't know how people are wired. So if it gives you a panic attack, okay, but you got to get a note from a doctor in that case.
Yeah. I'm with you. We should be wearing it. Hey, getting back to Gundy, though. When we talk, one other thing, Gundy does not have, Steve, you mentioned that there's the article that said he's not close to his players. It doesn't really surprise me because I do know that there's a lot of friction with Gundy. He had some with T. Boone Pickens, back when, before Pickens died. He has some with Mike Holder, the AD. I'm not saying they hate each other. I'm just saying there's friction there. There's a thing going on at Oklahoma State, and there's a long leash for Mike Gundy. I'll say this. There's a real long leash for him. And the reason why I say that, too, is the friction between Holder and Gundy kind of comes from Mike Holder wanting to give money to smaller sports. Mike Holder was the golf coach at OSU. They have a storied golf program.
Right.
And Gundy thinks that most of the money should go to the football program. So that's kind of where the disconnect comes from between those two. So I think, I don't think Holder's ever really going to get rid of it.
From a gambling standpoint, I think unless he has a really great season, which is not likely to happen, if it's another 7 and I don't know if they'll play 12 games. If he has another middling season, he's gone. I would make Gundy a strong favorite to be fired after this season. I think there's too much ill will now that's going to create a real problem as far as recruiting is concerned.
I think unless the players Holder actually did. It's interesting you say that because Holder actually did call him out on recruiting. I think it was last year or 2 years ago. They were saying he said something like the coaches aren't doing their jobs, and I don't think Gundy was happy about that. But I disagree. Every time that Gundy has a middling year, he goes off, tries to get job offers from like Tennessee. The other 2 years ago, what was it when they went 8-4 Baylor?
Yep.
He tried to get an offer from. I don't know how real that offer was. I don't think it was as real as people make it out to be. But I do think he just has a long leash there because this isn't.
Still?
Yeah. Oh yeah. This isn't
really.
This Oklahoma State is not OU. They're not LSU. They're not even Auburn. I mean, he's the best coach in school history. And I think Holder is also a guy he's kind of level-headed. He kind of lets things go. I guess, I don't know the best way to say that. He kind of gives people a long leash. And I'm just not convinced that he would let, even if they go 7-5. And it would be a massive disappointment because, Oklahoma State got Chuba Hubbard coming back. They got Tylan Wallace coming back. Spencer Sanders is a pretty good quarterback. Even though he had problems with fumbling last year, it was his first year as a starter. I mean, they're supposed to be a pretty good team fighting for the Big 12 title. So, yeah, I think there's a disappointment factor there. But, they're 2-13. He's 2-13 against OU, and he still managed to keep his job. I mean, he managed to put Oklahoma State in the national title hunt 1 year in 2011. I mean, that's
no. Listen, I think he's a decent college. I don't put him in the superstar status. I think he's a decent college football coach, but I think he's done too much damage, and I think it's going to really hurt him on the recruiting trail. We haven't seen the effects of that yet. Okay, so if the AD looks at this and says, we're not going to get anything except we're just not going to get the players we need to get to stay even at this level, then he's going to be gone.
You know what? I think he's pretty much locked in as long as he wants to be there. I think, some of the stuff that with flirting with other jobs, not getting along at all with the AD for the last decade, I think he has a really long leash at Oklahoma State. I think unless they go.
You're closer to it than I am, so,
Yeah. Unless they go like 4-8, I don't think so. And by the way, Oklahoma State fans have gotten fed up with Gundy, especially after Bedlam. But right now, the majority of them, they're supporting Gundy. And
are they supporting him with dollars? That's the real key. If the booster dollars, and that could come from corporate boosters too, who are very, very careful now about their associations. If the corporate booster dollars dry up, I don't care what his record is, he's out of there. And that could happen.
It's always a possibility. It's always a possibility. Boone Pickens isn't around anymore. He was their biggest donor at Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Listen, little UNLV, and UNLV, when it comes to football, is not exactly big time. UNLV's football coach got an extra year because of booster dollars. Okay, so it matters. That matters a lot.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You're 100% correct. It matters. The boosters come in and say, hey, we want Gundy out of here. I think he's going to be gone. And I do believe a few years ago, I'd have to check up on this. I don't know how serious it ever got, but there were boosters that wanted Gundy gone, that were fed up with him. I think it was the year when he tried to go to Baylor, is what I want to say. I do know that has happened before. But Gundy ended up staying. He ended up getting a contract extension, ended up staying, got more money. So, I mean, I still think he's safe, even though he doesn't really – I don't know what the relationship is right now between him and Holder, but I would guess there's still friction there.
What do you think, Steve?
I think he's going to stay around unless there's another horrible, racial incident. You know what? Here's the thing: if they have a difficult season, the whole thing could implode. I mean, just because he got Chuba Hubbard to back down, there were other guys on Chuba's side. If there's a mutiny, middle of the year, if they're off to a 3-4 start, then the whole thing can come crashing down. And listen, if the guy has stories like the one we heard with Alfred Williams, you don't think there's other stories out there? If that actually happened, the guy's playing quarterback in 1989, he's dropping N-bombs all over the field. There's probably some other stories out there. And to your point earlier, like you guys mentioned, recruiting, I saw as of like 2 weeks ago, he had 11 verbal commits for the 2021 class. 10 of the 11 are African-American. If this thing keeps going with players feeling more and more empowered, we're talking about guys who are under scholarship with coaches maybe they're not comfortable with. They feel like they're being bullied. They're trying to leave schools. Guarantee guys who are committed are going to say the hell with it. I'm not going there. I'm not going to go to play for a guy who seems like he's short-sighted, maybe racist, doesn't care about Black Lives Matter. So this thing's still developing. Yeah,
no, it's a great point. The recruits don't want to go there. He can't play. And if the boosters don't want to – sorry, lost my train of thought for a second. If the boosters don't want him there, then he can't stay around. But, I mean, that's the key. And also, recruiting at Oklahoma State is still pretty tough. If OSU's going after a player, if OU wants that player, OU.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how it works. So,
Gil the Thrill pops in with I like my teams to have a controlling coach like Gundy. He got Hubbard right back in line. Let me punch it up here. For some reason, it's popping up. What I like my school to have a coach who is actually trying to educate the players, wants to listen to them, wants to make them into productive citizens, diverse citizens who can deal with diverse workplaces. So that's what I want. I want to win, but I also want to be proud of the kids that are being pumped out. And I wouldn't be proud to have Mike Gundy as a coach at my school. So my school sucks at football. It's Rutgers, but I will tell you this. I had no issue in the past, and you know this, Dave. You've seen what's happened at that school repeatedly with basketball coaches. They've had freaking creeps and weirdos at basketball coach, and some of them were actually going in the right direction. There was a guy, Mike Rice, who was pretty decent, going in the right direction, pretty good recruiter. As soon as that stuff came out that he's bullying the kids, he's like both physically and verbally, get the fuck out of here. Like I don't. You can. There's always someone else who can coach your school.
Yeah.
There's always someone else who can win. Now you may not find the right guy like in the next 2 tries, but there's someone out there that will treat kids with respect, will treat the admin with respect, will treat the boosters, the alums. It's all part of it. It's one big community, and you don't need to have a bully. That stuff might have passed in 1978 with Bobby Knight. You don't need it in 2020. Be an adult. Manage it like you would manage a company. You don't have to be sexist. You don't have to be a bully. You don't have to be borderline racist. There are coaches who can win. Like Lincoln Riley, I've heard nothing but good things about that guy. In fact, Oklahoma every year basically has to worry about him being stolen by the NFL. And that to me is the biggest problem for Mike Gundy, is while he wants to be old school 1978 coach with the stupid mullet and, bullying the media, bullying his players, you got a guy in Lincoln Riley who's an adult, who, by the way, is like 20 years younger than him.
Yeah, and by the way, also decided that he thought that under the conditions he needed to take a cut and pay this year.
Yep.
He's a classic guy.
Now Gundy just got forced to take a cut. Basically, part, being forced to take a cut. I think part, shut up. You're losing some of your money. Lincoln Riley is the adult in that state, while Mike Gundy is at times the embarrassment and a guy that you don't want to hold up as a role model.
Yeah, I mean, Lincoln Riley's been fantastic through this whole thing. I mean, even with the coronavirus, he said, Mike Gundy's, hey, let's get these kids in here. They can get it. They'll be fine. And Lincoln Riley's like, hey, let's wait till July 1st so we get more information on this. And I think that's part of why Lincoln's such a good coach, is because he gets more information. I mean, Dave, as you know, as a pro bettor, you need as much information as possible.
Yep, factual information.
I mean, that's
one quick update. You were mentioning DJ TJ, his girlfriend, Kimberly Guilfoyle, got coronavirus. Here's the update as I was looking at tweet on, if it'll pop up here. Where the hell is it? There it is. Disappeared. They were actually out at a party, Donald Trump Jr. and Guilfoyle, with over 100 people in attendance in the Hamptons, many of them without masks on. So, hello.
Man, this.
Yep. And this attempt to look like tough guys because they think it looks weak, or it'll suggest that the virus is out of control. We don't need to hear suggestions that the virus is out of control. It's out of control. So start wearing masks. How selfish do you have to be after you went to that Oklahoma rally and you were exposed to that many people to then go to a party within 10 days, and now she's got it and he doesn't? Which, again, what was your line earlier, Dave, about good people and what I forget what you said? He doesn't get it, but his girlfriend does. Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, he needs to stay healthy because he's due to go on another safari to Africa so he can kill some wild animals. Fucking idiot. I'm sorry if anybody's offended by that tough shit. It's the one group of people I have no regard for whatsoever. I wish only bad things for them, is trophy hunters. You want to kill an animal for food? I got no problem with deer hunting and stuff like that, or hunting in general. But when you specifically travel thousands of miles and hire an expensive guide just to kill an elephant or a tiger, you are scum.
I agree with you.
I don't have a segue on that one. I want to get to baseball. There's no good segue, but good rant. Dave, I saw you doing a video. on VSiN, and you were talking about sleepers and a 60-game schedule. Before you name a team or two, and we'll get Josh in on this, what would qualify you as a team to be a potential sleeper? What do you need to be effective over 60 games?
I think in this 60 games, for a couple of reasons. One, the starting pitching, I think, is going to play less of a role, at least for the first few weeks, because we know that they're going to start off 30 to 50 pitches in spring training, which means there'll be 60 to 75 pitches. That's like 4 or 5 innings in the major leagues. So you're going to have teams with stronger bullpens and deeper bullpens are going to get a jump. And in a 60-game season, that's really important. I also think the teams, that I think is probably fact. This is more opinion. The better organizations will be better prepared for this. And it's one reason that I mentioned a couple of teams that I think are really good organizations, better than competing organizations in their own division. And I think that they're going to have an advantage. And they're the teams that I'm looking to do well. And one of them I'll mention was the Milwaukee Brewers. They are, I think, maybe as good an organization as there is in baseball or any sport for that matter. Small market, by baseball standards. There are no real small markets, but they are small market. But Antonio, and I'm messing up his last name, he's a really good owner. He's the anti-Daniel Snyder. Terrific organization, excellent management. I think the Brewers are a team that probably is going to be ready to go at the starting gate, more so than some other teams, even in their own division.
I think this is really going to favor the worst teams, not necessarily the worst runs, but the teams that are worse off right now. You know, teams like the Diamondbacks that are decent but not great, because less games, crazier things can happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And from a betting angle, I'm going to look at props that are like, you know, like over under home runs. I think I saw like 20 and a half, even though it translates to like a 162 game season. I think it translates to something like 60 home runs or a little less than that. I'm still going to take the over because it's easier to hit 20 home runs in 60 games than it is to hit 60 home runs in 162.
It's also easier to hit 20 home runs when it's really hot. As opposed to April when it's really cold and power gets suppressed in April sometimes. So I think it's advantage hitters when they come back.
Thank you. That's exactly, you know what? That's something I thought about when Steve first asked the question and then completely forgot to even mention it.
Well, that happens when you get old.
I'm kind of, what'd you say?
I said that happens when you get old.
Right?
You're getting old.
Well, it's like part of it, I'm kind of torn between, well, it's going to be hot outside. And then the other side of it is like earlier in the season, maybe it's just because of the cold weather, but the hitters don't have their timing down as much. Could be a part of it too. Pitchers usually dominate early, hitters dominate later in the season. So I'm kind of torn with that, but I am with you, Dave. I think it's going to be hitters mostly being able to take advantage of pitchers right now.
Also, another thing is that I think with some of your power guys, especially the National League, I used Christian Yelich as an example today on the VSiN broadcast. The Brewers, I'm sure they're going to do this, by the way. It's not even a thought. I'm convinced Council will do this. Yelich will probably play the field like 5 games a week, and he'll DH twice a week to keep him fresh. So with a guy like Yelich, who's got a lot of power, I mean, he could go over some of these totals by himself. Home runs, runs batted in, whatever. He could be an absolute 60-game monster. I think there's a good chance of some overs.
Yeah, the DH is going to be huge in the NL. Now, I mean, you don't have to rest guys on the Sundays like they normally do.
Right.
And it would have helped a team like the Cardinals if they hadn't traded away Jose Martinez, guys like that you could DH.
I know.
I haven't really looked through this yet, but the teams that haven't traded away all the guys that could only play first base and they had to sit on the bench are actually going to get a huge advantage from this.
Isn't that weird how that works? Because the Cardinals never would have traded Jose Martinez if there was a DH in the National League, because he is built to be a DH. I mean, the guy's a terrific hitter. He can't catch a cold. And now he's in the American League, and that's a tough break. I mean, that's just a bad break for the Cardinals. I also think the teams with new bullpens, where they don't, and the Cubs might fall into this category. They have a disjointed bullpen. I think this is going to work against them. So I mean, it's just a guess. It's just they're all educated guesses. But I think the Brewers might be on top of that division, and the Cubs might be the 4th best team in the division. Obviously, we don't count the Pirates, who would just as soon not play any games if they could, because then they wouldn't have to pay anybody that way.
You think the Reds will have a better season?
I think the Reds will have a better season, but I think they're being overhyped a little bit. They're the sexy pick right now, and you know how that goes. I mean, it's the same thing every year in the NFL. Whoever the sexy pick is at the beginning of the year, that's the team that's going to suck. Yeah, I mean, just move them out.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers this year.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the Bucs kind of were in a little bit last year. There's usually a 1-year gap. It's like the 49ers were the sexy hot pick going into 2018. Well, everything went wrong for them. And then people kind of said, well, we're not going to pay attention to them. And they went out and almost made the Super Bowl in 2019.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's that extra year because usually those teams, like I look at like Texas football, like when they went 10-3, they overachieved. And I was telling everyone that, they're not going to be any good the next year. And it was, you just take Texas. No, they're not very good. They got lucky. And then this last year, what happened? They weren't all that good. They went 8-5 or whatever. This year, they're kind of getting hyped up again. But this year, I actually kind of buy it because I think it's that 1-year delay. after they beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, kind of hyped up their season last year. It's the same kind of concept with all these teams that just out of nowhere they trade for a good player. Like the Reds got Trevor Bauer. People just overrate the players that they get in there. So yeah,
I think Cincinnati's going to have I think they're going to be a decent club because the DH should really help them. But they've got to utilize it properly, and I don't want to get real deep into the technical stuff, but if they hit Joey Votto second again, just cancel him out. Joey Votto is not a number 2 hitter anymore, and he should be hitting down in the lineup. And if you're still hitting him second because he's Joey Votto and he's had a great career, then you're asking to lose.
Yeah.
Who's going to play DH for the Reds?
I think Votto will be DH at least part of the time. Yep. Who's the guy with the big? I'm blanking on his name. The guy with the gigantic swing that came up and hit a shitload of home runs last year.
Winker.
No. He's a Latino guy.
No. I know. I know.
I just said it. It's Aquino who came up and hit 19 home runs.
Yeah. He's not.
He was an outfielder.
He's not a gifted outfielder, though. Let's put it that way. So he might be DHing against lefties at least.
Yep.
Man, that guy's got a big swing too.
The Reds are just full of outfielders that hit 20, 30 home runs every year. They always have those random guys that come up. Remember Scott Schebler?
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, hit like 25 homers or 28 home runs, and then playing in AAA last year because he couldn't hit anymore. It's weird how it works.
But the Reds, just to complete the thought on the Reds, they have been a dysfunctional organization for several years now. And I think that's part of the reason I'm not taking them as seriously as a lot of people are. They look okay on paper, but bad organizations keep on being bad organizations, and I'm just worried the Reds will fuck it up somehow, which they just do.
What about the Blue Jays, Dave?
I think they're the third best team in the division this year. I think they're better than the Red Sox. I like their young talent. The Red Sox are going into the rebuilding mode. I'm not going to rip Dombrowski because they did win the World Series, but Dombrowski did leave them in the shape he leaves every organization because he strips the prospects and goes for it. It worked in Boston. They got a world championship out of it, so I can't crush him, but he just depleted the organization. So they're in a rebuilding phase. The Blue Jays have their young guys up right now. Guerrero is a terrific young talent. Bichette, Biggio's kid. They're a team that's on the rise, but they're not as good as Tampa or the Yankees.
Also, it's like the second-year gap. For whatever reason, those rookies that come up and hit well, they seem to have like a downswing in their sophomore year a little bit. Like they have to readjust, like even throughout there. So that's kind of why it's like they're kind of full of young guys. Like the Blue Jays will be up there. I mean, they'll probably be better next year. They might not be able to ever pass the Yankees or the Rays because, I mean, the Yankees just buy whatever they want, and they're pretty deep right now.
Biggest problem with the Blue Jays is they're stuck in the East, which is tough in the American League because they've got 2 teams that are better than they are, and they're going to have to play those 20 interleague games against a very good National League East, where you've got 4 teams that are legit contenders to win that division. That's a tough break. Whereas the National League Central, I mean, those teams, they got the 4-leaf clover. They get to face the American League Central, which has maybe 1 or 2 good teams, tops, and 2 really bad teams.
Minnesota, I kind of like the White Sox this year. I think they'll be a little. I think that's the team that's going to be on the rise. Minnesota should still be pretty good. Cleveland should probably start to be falling off this year. They still have a decent team.
And the Indians are still. I mean, Francisco Lindor, even in a short season, is probably going to get traded.
Oh yeah, the Indians have been talking about that. So,
well, they're not going to re-sign him, so they're going to try and get something for him.
I mean, they're probably not good enough. They'll probably make a little play. Well, short season, so you got to decide pretty quick to trade him at the deadline. I'm still thinking it's a long season, but they might try to make a run at it. But yeah, I think you're right. They'll probably be in rebuild mode pretty soon. If
they get out of the gate quickly, if they start 10-5 or something, they might hold on and say, "Well, we got a shot." But if they go the other way out of the gate 5-10, they'll be dealing right away.
Yeah.
How confident are you guys that we're going to have a full season? And kind of distressing. Mike Trout. Bill Plaschke wrote a story about Mike Trout, and Mike Trout's like, "Hey, I got a kid on the way, man. If I get sick or she gets sick after my wife has the kid, like we can't see him for 14 days plus. Is there a chance he doesn't play? And what about the whole safety aspect of these extended? They're not bubbles; they're basically hubs that go up and down the country. I mean, it sounds like a pretty risky setup.
I'm still not. Part of the reason I haven't done a ton of work is I don't want to waste it. At least I know the KBO is going to keep playing. I'm not sure about baseball, basketball, hockey, NFL. Well, NFL, they'll find a way to play because there's too much money. College football, I don't know. And looking at it from a practical standpoint, if college football says, just to be safe, we're gonna play the season starting in March. Okay. I mean, I won't like it from a personal standpoint because it'll cost me a fortune. I make a lot of money with my picks in college football, but overall, I mean, and the Ivy League keeps on being the lead in this. Remember, the Ivy League was the first to shut down in college basketball season, and now it's looking more and more like the college football season might not start for them until midwinter 2021. If they make that move, the SEC will fight it because the SEC makes a tremendous amount of money in college football. I think you'll see some other conferences follow suit. The Pac-12 might be one of them.
Pac-12 might have the best shot at playing in the fall.
Yeah, but they're going to be a safety first organization because of the fact that they are in states that are
California.
Well, I don't know how else to put it. They're in the liberal states, okay?
Yeah. If I'm looking at which sports are most likely to play, least likely, I would actually say NHL first because they're playing in Canada where more people are taking the virus seriously. NBA second because they actually have a bubble concept. And then I'd have MLB way down there.
But what happens?
NFL would probably be first, but
I think the NFL's playing.
Yeah.
I think the NFL, there's just so much, it's billions of dollars with the NFL, and I think it's like, and the NFL doesn't give a fuck about the players anyway, so they're going to play.
Right. Baseball.
I wanted to go back to, for 1 second, your college football point. Sean, who's in the chat, he's actually up on the chat right now with what happens college football in March if we don't have a vaccine. But I just wanted to throw this in. Sean sent this over earlier. So we were at, as of a week ago, we were at 37 positive tests at Clemson out of 120. USC just came back with 120 tests. They had one positive. What does that tell you?
Somebody's taking better diligence.
They're taking the virus more seriously. Right. USC. I mean, people in South Carolina aren't going to be taking it seriously. I live in a state like that in Oklahoma where, there's quite a few people that aren't taking it seriously. There's people that still think you don't have to wear masks.
I'll answer the question that Steve put up from Mangano Law. Pardon me if I mispronounced that. My apologies. What changes in March if we don't have a vaccine? I think what's happened in the last couple of weeks has made believers out of all except the real idiots that are out there. And we're seeing around the world, everybody doing better than we are. Everybody is doing better than we are. And I think this time around, people are going to take the proper precautions. And things are going on in the other countries, for instance, Korea, where, the virus is still there. They had 50. Here's how careful they are in Korea. They had 50 new cases 2 days ago. In the entire country, 50 new cases. And they said, well, that's it. We're not going to let the fans in yet to watch the baseball games. But they haven't had to shut down. They're open for business because everybody's taking precautions. I think this time you're going to have much larger percentage of people that are like, you know what? I'm going to wear the mask, even though I don't like it. I think the minority is decreasing on that. There's going to be some holdouts because, some people are stupid. But I think that common sense is starting to overtake some of the people who are on the fence as far as masks are concerned.
Yeah.
So I think that if we wait, and I don't want us to wait, because, and again, I'm being selfish. That's, I make a lot of money in September selling college football picks. But taking myself out of it, I don't have a problem if we wait. I think it's probably not a bad idea.
I kind of think, too, the bigger thing that also changes in March is that it's more of a realistic possibility that college football is losing a ton of money. So they're going to kind of force it in. I think
that's the other part of that.
I don't know about that. because they're not going to be able to have many fans in.
Right.
By March, we might be able to have full houses again. So you make a lot more money. You know, short-term thinking is not good as a rule. Long-term picture might actually be better financially for them to wait.
It might be, that's what I'm saying. But what changes in March is that they're going to sit there and say, oh, we're losing too much money. This might actually happen. Right now, if they say, oh, we can't play in August, we can't play in September, it's like, all right, we can still push it to the spring semester. But if they lose it in the spring semester, that's all the money gone.
Well, that's a gamble they'd have to take. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one. I think, the hope obviously is that by early part of next year, maybe we've got a vaccine. It's a maybe, but these people around, these medical professionals they're brilliant, and I'm betting that they will come up with something.
Yeah, hopefully.
A couple of things on this. Lincoln Kennedy, Raiders color voice, was on with us on Friday, and he said he seemed to strongly believe that the NFL might start in October. They might have to back up the season a month, and he was all about college football backing up, saying that playing without fans, college football relies way too much on the gate. I mean, it's something like 70% of the revenue brought in for football from the gate, and the domino effect is devastating. If football doesn't make the money close to what it usually makes, then everything else at each school is affected. So you have to have a football season, but you can't have a football season where the revenue is down freaking, potentially 60 or 70%, because then you can't bankroll the rest of the programs.
By the way, they could. I guess it wouldn't work in college football because they wouldn't be paying admission, but they could do what the Oakland A's have decided to do. Do you see that?
No,
they're gonna put cardboard fans in the stands. I'm not making that up. They're actually going to do that.
Giants were talking about doing the same thing. You can actually see ticket holders can send in pictures of themselves, and then the Giants are going to print out some sort of picture and put it on the seats.
The interesting thing is, though, if you do that, knowing baseball, the Giants will force the cardboard fans to buy cardboard concessions at outrageous prices. Like a cardboard fish taco for $15 or something.
Right.
Because baseball owners got to make that money.
Well, here's the thing. Here's baseball's biggest problem. 1/3 of the teams in baseball right now are in states that have a huge outbreak or in areas with a huge outbreak. Because I'm not counting like the Giants in California. It's not as bad in San Fran as it is in LA.
How about the fact that like 30 or 40% of the players come from states with the outbreaks between California, Arizona, but especially Texas and Florida. And if they don't come from there, they might live in Texas and Florida because of no state income tax. So they're in the belly of the beast right now as they're getting ready to head up, to wherever, head up and out to their clubs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's an issue, man. I mean, that's a huge issue. Hey, Steve, do you think there's a chance that
Sorry, Dave. Hold on one second. I had to distract Dave.
Hey,
what's up, Dave? There you go. Thanks for the rackage and the avatar. We appreciate that. We'll just leave that up there.
Tay is a huge fan of the
of you.
Well,
of you.
She's I forget. I know she loves the Patriots, which I've never figured out the connection between Toronto and there's no team in Toronto who cares about the Argonauts, but I guess she loves the Blue Jays. And Tay's good people. She really is.
Josh, I cut you off. Go ahead. Sorry. You were asking me something about baseball.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, do you think there's a chance that the season doesn't even happen? Or what would you put it at? What would you put it at? The chance that the season doesn't happen. Yeah, baseball season.
I think it's going to happen, but I believe when Manfred says last week he slipped, but when he says there's a good chance they don't play 60 games, I'm going to take him at his word because he's too stupid to lie. Well, he lied all throughout the negotiations, but he finally slipped and then admitted they were negotiating in bad faith. But yeah, I could see a stoppage. I could see a major breakout on a team, and they have to stop for a couple of weeks, and then they're like, the best we can do is get 48 games in. So I think they're going to try it, but it's highly risky. You know what? I want to close on this, and we're going to go a little shorter tonight because 4th of July is coming up, and I appreciate you guys doing this, Dave and Josh, and all the listeners checking in. Another gaming angle. This is something we talked about, sports gambling angle. This is something we talked about all week, and I'm curious to get everyone who's on this happy hour's opinion on Cam Newton. I played it up during the week that, hey, as a Jets fan, I'm really afraid of the Patriots. Oh, my God, they got Cam Newton. Where dead meat. The Jets are in trouble. I don't know that Cam Newton is going to make it through the whole football season and come anywhere close to playing 16 games. And when you see the global odds on Cam Newton have him at 8.5 over under for games, that's not just based on Stiddy being some sort of formidable challenge. I think people are legitimately worried that he's not going to make it through the season. Dave, you start. You're the New England follower. I don't even know if you're a Patriots fan anymore. Do you think is this a Super Bowl team? Can you count on Cam Newton? Especially, they're going to want to play him the way Cam Newton plays. He's going to have to run the ball. Is he making it past 12 games?
First of all, I don't think he's. I mean, if it's a no-brainer for the Patriots, it didn't cost them anything, so why not take a shot? But I don't think he's a good fit for Belichick's offense. And look, his skills have diminished, not because of anything other than injury, but the injury situation has been really, really tough for him, which reduced him from a truly elite quarterback, one of the best in the game, to right now a guy who I'm not sure even beats out Stidham for the first-string job. And Belichick isn't going to just hand it to him. So, no, I think it's a good gamble for the Patriots, but I'm not sure that it's going to make a great difference.
What do you think, Josh? What would you do on the first of all on the bet of the over under games played at 8 or I think it was games started over under 8.5.
I would take the over on that one. I mean, even though he's been injury prone the last few years, he still has I don't know how long he's been in the year, 7-8 season. He has the majority of over 8.5 games. So I think I'd lean over. I wouldn't feel too good about it, but actually,
I think I'd still lean over, but mainly because they've still got 2 games against the Jets and 2 games against the Dolphins. You put them in a tougher division, and I think the Bills are better than the Patriots right now. I think New England could be a 9-7 team. Look, let's remember this: they've got as good a coach on the sidelines as has ever coached, and they went 11-5 with Matt Castle.
Yeah, that's the point. Look. The Bills are the sexy pick, Dave. I'm just telling you. Bills are the sexy pick right now.
Yeah, but they're good. They've got a really good defense. I mean, their defense is high level, and I think Josh Allen's going to keep getting better.
Yeah, everything in me looking at the Bills says, hey, they're pretty good, but I just can't get over right now that they're still the sexy pick in the division. But getting to the Patriots, look, I know I'm going to take flack for this. I don't know. Maybe you guys will agree with me. Tom Brady's kind of on his last legs. He was not that great of a quarterback last year. This Patriots team, I think they can win 10 games.
Colin Cowherd said he's still one of the 5 best arms in the league. So
what did he say? Strongest arms or something like that?
Yeah, that was weird.
Look,
no, I would agree. I think Brady has declined, which is why I'm not as sold on Tampa as a lot of people. He's not playing. And no knock on Bruce Arians, who I think is a fine coach, but he's not playing for Bill Belichick anymore. And I think Belichick was getting a max out of Brady the last couple of years. He's, the guy's pushing 50. Okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing. With Cam Newton, he's going to get the best out of him. Even if he's got Jared Stidham, he's going to get the best out of him. They still got a really good defense.
They do have a good defense.
The Patriots, they didn't ride Tom Brady's coattail to get to the playoffs last year.
No, I agree with that.
12 games. I don't think taking Brady off there, especially replacing with Cam Newton, who I think if he stays healthy the whole year, ends up having a better season than Tom Brady. I mean, I don't see a drop-off from the Patriots at all.
But I would take
there's a lot of people that agree with me on that. But
if you put a games played prop on Cam, I'd probably bet the under. I don't know how he stays on the field the whole year. He's becoming more injury prone, and you don't suddenly stop being injury prone as you get older. And I think Cam is, I don't know what his age is, but he'd be an old, if he's 20, if he's 30, he's an old 30 in my opinion.
I think he's like 30, 29, 30. So he was born in 89, so he'll be, he's 31. Is that right? Yeah, he's 31.
He's not going to be out there at 40 like Breeze or Brady. It's not going to happen. He's just taken too much punishment over the years. A great player a few years ago, but I think that Cam Newton is gone.
Well, here's the thing. I just looked at his game log. He played 2 games last year. He got injured. He played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 2 years ago. So I don't know. I mean, it's one season injuries. You might be right. He might be out of there. And they played full season the year before that. I mean, he has had some injuries. We've seen it.
See, the thing is that he's also had the bad injury, the concussions.
Yeah.
And they get worse. And the league is starting to get diligent on that. Finally, they're starting. There's just too many of the older guys dying because of concussions, and I think the players are becoming more conscious of it. And now, when there's a concussion, there's still exceptions, but I think the players are smartening up and saying, "Okay, I have to sit out, even if they want to go back in."
He might do that. And it's like you said, quarterbacks can fall off really quick in this league. But again, I'm still going to take the over-under because he's been playing the majority of the season the last few years. I mean, it's just
I hope you're right, because I'd love to see Cam Newton stay healthy and get back to being where Cam Newton was. I mean, the guy was a blast to watch. He was really fun to watch. I just don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see this season. I personally don't like the Patriots, so I hope they do bad. So I'm hoping you're right.
There you go.
Now you pissed off Tay Stevens. She's going to.
Right. Well, you know what? Josh doesn't have to piss her off because creepy Eli has already gone in on her. Not the right way. Good job, Eli. Dave, when's the last time you just started attacking a hot female over her sports take?
Never.
Or do you just kind of handle? Yeah, exactly. So Eli starts with Tay and says basically is calling her a bandwagon fan because she picked New England instead of Buffalo. And they've gone back and forth. And
why would she pick Buffalo? There's a rivalry between Toronto and Buffalo. I mean, I know Maple Leafs fans can't stand Sabres fans and vice versa. So why would she pick Buffalo since she's from Toronto? That's to me, that's the last team she'd pick.
So after about 12 comments back and forth with Eli and Tay finally said this. All right. Yeah, maybe you should just shut them.
Tay doesn't take crap from anybody. That's why I like her.
And Ashley Whiskers like, okay, she's coming in here wrecking people. Eli, this is why you are such a smooth man with the lady. I'm not saying you had a chance, but you don't now. We'll just say that. Jesus. Wonderful.
Never piss off a good-looking women. Never.
There you go.
It's just a cardinal rule.
All right, what are you guys doing for the weekend? What are you doing for? I know, Tay. At some point, you got to tell someone to shut the fuck up. What are you guys doing for the weekend for 4th of July, Dave? You getting all crazy? You shooting off fireworks? You gonna eat 25 hot dogs tomorrow in honor of the hot dog contest? What are you doing?
No, but I am going to watch.
Are you?
That's an annual event. Got to watch, and it's here in Las Vegas. So
why can't we bet it? Colorado and New Jersey can bet it now.
I don't know.
I'm tired of hearing gaming's got to approve. Come on.
Yeah, we actually, no joking around, we need to expand our menus.
This is ridiculous, man.
You can't bet on the hot dog contest in Vegas?
No.
Actually, this is the first year that you can bet in the United States, and you don't have to go global. Colorado and especially New Jersey. New Jersey put it out first. I think Colorado's following suit. But, yeah, you can bet legally on the hot dog contest in those two states.
New Jersey is putting up a lot more stuff than we are. And I don't want to see Las Vegas not be the sports betting capital of the world. But, if Jersey's putting up more stuff than we are, and they're starting to generate more revenue than we are, that title's eventually going to go to New Jersey. I think it's time for the sports books to get together with Gaming Control and say, we need to expand our options. And the first thing, put up Oscars. Put them up. Got to put them up. Okay? And that'll be a big betting, a huge betting market. And it can be controlled. I mean, Dave, I think we need to put that up.
Dave, what we need to put up, and you close it down a day before, because I know they want to be careful about it. What you need to put up to help make up for all the lost revenue is the election.
Yeah, oh yeah. I have no problem with that.
Man.
One state tried it. I think was it Illinois or Iowa had it up?
West Virginia. West Virginia, one of the guys leaked it out early. Like nothing was done yet, and then they came down hard on them. But we'll see. I mean, I could see New Jersey looking at it and going the same thing. Like, we've lost all this revenue. The economy's down. This is a lot of tax revenue. You need to be talking about tens of millions of dollars bet on the election. Watch New Jersey finish line, and I'll stop doing the 2020.
All those people. Yeah, you can do on senatorial elections, governorships, all kind of everything. I mean, if they can generate dollars on it, they put up a city companies. Look, I'll one benefit of putting the elections up for betting? Everybody who makes everybody. There's not I said that everybody who bets, if they can cast a vote, going to. So to me, if you can increase turnout and interest, why not? The thing is, this is where the downside of it is. Not for nothing. 2016. I've never met. Okay, so it's not a personal. But I do know people who have done business with Trump. I wouldn't have voted for Donald Trump against anybody. People I know who have dealt with him think he's an idiot. Okay, I'm sorry. That's if you feel differently, that's okay. But I'd have bet him at the price. Yep. See, that's the better in me as opposed to I'm not a fan. And that price was an overlay on Hill 2016.
How about that, Dave? This time around,
I'd have bet Trump, and which means, by the way, I would have voted for him too, because I am a selfish bastard, and I'm going to try and make my vote count for the guy I can make money with.
This time around, if he goes off at like plus 130, would you bet him again?
Well, I don't know. I'll have to see what it's like when it's close to the election. The thing I knew in 2016 was, boy, it looks like there's some close states here. I didn't think he was going to. I didn't think he was going to win. I'm not going to lie. I didn't think he was going to win, but I knew that plus 300, even on the day of the election, was like, that's too high. This thing's pretty close in like 6 states. And if you looked at the electoral map, and I know 538, well, they got it wrong. They didn't really, because if you looked at their state breakdowns, it's like, Jesus, this is really close in states like Wisconsin. So even though they had the projections where they were, you could see where those projections might swing. And the value bet was Trump all along, even on election day.
Dave, what about the Josh? Go ahead, go.
I was going to say, people like to say, oh, they got it wrong. It's like, if you have someone as an 80-20 favorite, if they don't win, if the 20% doesn't ever win, it's not 80-20. It's 100-0. That's one of the
and again, on this, and that's the thing on this election, all I can tell you is from an analytical standpoint, it's probably going to be really close, because you've got about a half a dozen states right now which are completely up in the air. And those 6 states are probably going to decide the election. So those are the states to pay attention to as far as the polls are concerned. National polls don't mean a thing, because the national vote doesn't mean anything. I mean, look, if you're in California right now and you're a Republican, your vote doesn't count, okay? He's going to win. He's got 0% chance of winning that state. Likewise, if you live in
Oklahoma.
One of the... Yeah, if you're a Democrat in Oklahoma, go vote for mayor and governor and senator if you want, but your vote doesn't count for president. I mean, it's
by the way, should that be part of the betting? Because the electoral system is so screwed up, shouldn't you be able to bet the total votes, like Biden minus 4.5 million votes?
That's a good prop. They ought to put that up.
They have to. They have to back it up that way.
They should put that up.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
how about the flip side of this?
It's been a heavy dog in the popular vote. I know on offshore sites.
Oh yeah.
What recent? It's only been a recent change though. He was favored as high as like 160 at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So he was favored to win the election, but not the popular vote. He hasn't been the favorite.
No, he's been the dog all along in the
popular vote. But yeah, but election wise, he was favored up until Corona hit, pretty much.
But I'd like to see a point spread. Yeah, I think that would be really popular. Where Biden minus 3 million or something like that. That would get a lot of action either on both sides. That'd be a good prop for the House.
Yeah.
Brady,
good.
There's so much involved in this that could happen. There's so much that can change from now on too. But something I'm starting to see. I'm just looking at this from a neutral point of view. Something I'm starting to see from the right is that some people are trying to go libertarian rather than because they don't like Trump and they've hated Dems their whole life. It's kind of like how in 2016, a lot of the independents didn't like Hillary and they didn't want to vote for Trump either because they've been against the Republicans the whole time. So some of them voted for, was it the Green Party or whatever the candidate is?
Yeah,
that might be happening, but there might be other stuff that cancels that out for Trump.
The worst thing for Biden The thing that can cost him the election is if the Bernie Sanders fans again refuse to come out, and it kind of looks like that might happen again. They don't like Biden, and if the Bernie people stay home or vote third party, that is a big plus for Trump.
Yeah,
and again, I'm not making a case for either guy as far as what I like or don't like. I'm just looking at the numbers.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's so many different angles that, hey, this is going to help Biden, this is going to help Trump. You just go through each one and
you don't know. Listen, if September rolls around or October rolls around, and all of a sudden we have found a vaccine, that if you don't think that's going to change a lot of people's minds back to maybe where they originally were, I mean, so there's a lot that could happen between now and then.
Dave, repeat what you said earlier, that if you bet Trump in 2016, you would have voted Trump.
Yeah. I mean, sorry. I understand. I don't bullshit, okay? I'm not going to lie on here. Yeah. I look out for my own interests first. And part of the reason for that is it doesn't really matter to me, especially at my age, who the president is. They're not going to impact my life one way or the other.
What about the kids, Dave? What about our future? How irresponsible.
Yeah, well, I don't have any kids.
What about me? I'm a little bit younger than you. How about this? I wouldn't bet that much money, but I would actually, if the presidential election were close, just about every time around, I would actually bet one way, and I'm sorry, I would vote one way and bet the other, because my attitude is I win either way.
That's not a bad thought.
Like if I'm going to be upset that I lost a presidential election, I'm making money off it.
That's not a bad thought.
Yeah,
I'm not betting $10,000 on it. So if I throw a few hundred, I win and I win. So I
get to celebrate either way.
Even if you throw $20 on it and that makes you feel good, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
It's like having a middle.
Yeah, exactly.
Last thing, because I want to build on a tweet that Dave sent out, and then we are going to close this down. I appreciate you guys staying up so late, and it's freaking super late where Josh is in Oklahoma. Brady said if Biden debates Trump on stage, that will hurt Biden's odds significantly. Sean came back and said, "Are you serious? Did you see Trump tonight?" I actually think it'll be a wash. It'll be a freaking dementia off, basically. But what I do think is interesting, you said something earlier in the day, Dave, or maybe it might have been a couple days ago. You said that you would love to see politicians have to take the Wonderlic and have the results.
Yes.
Holy shit. What would happen?
We'd have a lot of politicians, current and future politicians, exposed as being stupid, and that would be the end of them. I would love to. I actually was only. I'd love to see it.
One, the Wonderlic is not made for 70-year-olds, so it is not easy when you're older and you've forgotten a lot of the stuff, the techniques, of test taking. So I don't think any of the 70-plus-year-olds would do well. Although I will say this.
I'll take it. I'm 67, and I know what my Wonderlic score was years back because we did a promotion.
Yeah, were you in a? So were you plus 40? Like basically, what'd you get? Like a 21 or something?
I got 24, I think.
No, I don't think you got that high. We did 25 questions.
Okay, I know the only one who Adam Hill beat me by one.
Right, Adam. I think you had 21. Adam might have had 22. We had Paul, who we had a listener who is like at the time was like 72. He got 25 out of 25. Now the normal. What we did was a little bit different because it's 50 questions and that can be more wearing. We did 25 in 6 minutes. It's 50 questions in 12 minutes. But yeah, it's not an easy test for people who are older and don't read and don't do math on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But I can only imagine. But here's a crazy thing. Sometimes you get shocked. Like Trump could take it, and let's say he didn't cheat, right? Which he would try to do, mulligan. But he could take it, and like out of nowhere, it's like, oh, he got a 46, and be like, what the? Really? He got a 46? Maybe.
Okay. You know what? If he did,
you never know.
That's like, all right.
Some people are terrible.
No. What happens if he gets a 16?
Yeah, And we had, believe me, we had staffers who. We had a bunch of staffers get 8 out of 25, which basically works out to be a 16 Wonderlic. So which always cracks me up when I see some of our former hosts are talking about bad Wonderlic scores, and I'm like, you guys got 16. Shut the fuck up. Like mocking on whatever quarterback that year struggled and got an 11 or 12, and it's like, you guys got 16. But politicians. Imagine Michelle Fiore going in and taking. Sorry, Josh, this is a local angle. Imagine Michelle Fiore going in and trying to take the Wonderlic.
See, and I was half serious with it.
Yeah,
because the idea is that we want our political leaders to be intelligent, smarter than the average person, and a lot of them aren't.
So
I mean, that guy in Texas, Gomert, guy's a fucking moron. I'm sorry.
Right.
I mean, he just is. He's stupid. And I'm picking on him, not because he's a Republican, because there's some Democrats that are Looney Tunes too. But I mean, Jesus, how does a guy? You can't be that stupid and hold an important office, okay?
I'll explain to Mr. Tiger Gator if you don't know what the Wonderlic is. So it's most famous for being used now in the NFL draft, right? So it's 50 questions. It's 12 minutes. It is a combination of some knowledge. Most of it is problem solving and time management and dealing with the pressure of the time, because you have to decide if you skip questions and go back. So for a politician, it actually is kind of a good test, because a lot of it is about time management and dealing with pressure.
And the ability to reason quickly.
Yep.
Which I do think is rather important.
How about this, Ben?
It's to me, it's more important than tax. I really don't care about the tax returns, to be honest with you. I'd rather see, is this guy sharp or is this guy as dull as a butter knife?
Or do they have it anymore? That's the bigger thing. Like, are they sharp anymore?
I think there's something to that. I mean, look, I followed Joe Biden long enough to know. I don't think he's not showing any signs of Alzheimer's. Believe me, my dad had Alzheimer's, and I know what some of the telltale signs are. It's not really forgetfulness. That's just kind of natural. So he doesn't have Alzheimer's, but he's not as sharp as he was. I don't think there's any question about that. And the guy's almost 80. The job's too big. It's just my opinion. I can be dead wrong on this, but my opinion, I'd like to see a cutoff age of 65. Job's too big for anybody in your 70s. You shouldn't be. Go play golf. Relax.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. If with the debates, that's like the one thing Trump does good, or like he can talk. That's about it. That's his biggest strength there. I don't know if he's necessarily going to get a bump. I mean, he'll get a little bump from it. I don't think it'll be that big.
Oh my God!
Nah, I can guarantee you what the aftermath of the debate would be. The Trump fans would say he did great. The Biden fans would say he's an idiot. And then you'd have the same thing on the other side, where the Biden fans would say Joe was fantastic, and they'd say that Trump was an idiot. So that's because you have to be on one side or the other. You have to be a member of one of the tribes now.
I think they are, and they've recently become utterly useless. They're a waste of time.
Yeah.
They are.
We saw how many debates did the Democrats have this summer? This spring? What they had, like 8.
Yep.
They were every single one of them was a rehash of the prior one. It was like, Can we talk about something new? They spent the whole 2 hours. They spent an hour of it busting each other on the medical plans.
Yep.
It's like, give me something different. I already saw this. It's not like somebody's going to change their mind in a week. It was horrible.
All right, guys. Good week of Happy Hour. Dave, I appreciate you stepping up here on a Friday. Josh, I appreciate you coming in for the first time. Very good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it was awesome, man. We'll get you in soon, and good job, Dave. And thanks to all the listeners. As always, we do this for you guys, and if you're not, chatting away and commenting, then it all kind of makes it a moot point. Hi to Tay, and thanks to everyone else who jumped in. And Eli, come on, man. You got to get some tuchus this weekend. You got to tone it down with the women. So we'll see everybody on Monday, okay?